So I guess the first question is a fairly straightforward one.
Good afternoon.
Are we going to see a delay?
Well, what is our situation right now is that we are engaged with a proactive discussion with the regulators on both sides of the Atlantic, and those discussions are very important. And again, that's the reason why we have taken so much time early before launching anything, because we knew that we would be having questions coming from regulators from different parts of the world. So right now, our discussions with regulators is for us to prove them that we are going to provide proper solutions and proper answers to their questions and concerns when it turns out to AML and counter-financing of terrorism. So the launch date obviously will be depending on how those discussions go and how quick we get approval from the respective regulators.
Okay, let me try and pin you down on this one then. The pushback from regulators has been fairly fierce. Do you think you are going to be able to launch in the first half of 2020, yes or no?
Well, for now, we are still discussing with the regulators. So again, what I want this to be clear is that, as we've said, we will not launch a platform that is not compliant with the regulations across the world. So as far as we don't get those proper regulatory approvals, we are going to continue working. And then, as said, we will not launch anything before that.
So how is your application for a FINMA license going? That's the Swiss regulator who, of course, has to be on board here as well as Europe and the US.
Yes, so a few weeks ago, the FINMA has decided that we should be regulated as a payment system. So this was the announcement that was made by FINMA a few weeks ago. And right now we're in the process of applying for that license to the FINMA. So over the course of the next few months, so ideally before the end of this year, we would be applying to the FINMA, and then FINMA will be reviewing our application and will decide upon the license for this payment system network.
Talk to us about hiring. What does it look like right now? How many do you have in Geneva? How many are you hoping to hire soon? And will they be technical, or will the technical staff be more in Silicon Valley?
So Geneva is the headquarters of the Libra Association. So right now we're a little shy of 10 people, and the idea is that we are going to start staffing in different areas, whether it's compliance, whether it's finance operations, whether it's tech operations, and also we'll have some engineering people here in Geneva, in addition to the resources that we have in the Silicon Valley.
Mr. Perez, are you advanced in hiring, in your regulatory approach, as you would like to be? Did you expect to be where you are now, or did you expect to be further forward in all of this?
Well, everyone would prefer to be more advanced, but all the discussions we're having with the regulators and the questions they are asking, and the fact that we want to build a long-term platform that is sustainable and that is compliant, I think it's worth having those discussions and going through the details with the regulators, even if that's consuming some time. It's worth it because, again, we are here to build a long-lasting platform that is there for the long term, that will bring a lot of benefits for the customers, but we don't want to do that in competition against compliance. So that's key to our platform, and we better have those discussions again in advance, and that's why we decided to announce that project so early stage, so we can clear that and make sure that we have provided the proper answers to the questions, and then we can, once all that is clear, we can move on with the execution phase.
How do you see this being ultimately used, and what do you see the competition being? Increasingly, the world is being divided up into the US sphere of influence and the Chinese sphere of influence. Is that how you see Libra being divided up as well, or do you see it operating in China and the West? There's a lot of talk about a digitized Chinese currency. Where does Libra fit in?
Yeah, there's the Chinese initiative that has been announced, and there are other kind of initiatives. For example, Telegram has been also announcing something in that area. So our goal is to reach the 1.7 billion people who are underbanked or unbanked right now, and try to reduce the gap among those populations and bring them a basic need, which is to have a way to send, receive, and store money. For now, I'm not thinking about any kind of geostrategy or geopolitics. It's basically focusing on that pocket of people who have been left behind by the existing economical system, and try to provide them an answer with something that is a basic human need, having a way to store money and to be able to receive payments. And I was at the UN today, and that simple fact of having a way to store value and to send and receive payments is in line with a lot of the sustainable development goals that the UNs are having across their programs.
Now, the US Undersecretary for Terrorist Financing said recently that they believe that you are only in the very early stages of putting in place anti-money laundering compliance systems. Can you explain to us what you have in place and where you see yourself on that spectrum?
So on that front, we are bringing some solutions that will be implemented at the protocol level. So there's nothing that I can share here publicly, but we are confident that from the technical perspective and the fact that within the protocol we will be embedding a set of functions and measures that will allow to have a better detection and a better prevention of money laundering and financing of terrorism, in addition to some more traditional operation kind of organization within the association, in order to detect and report that kind of issues to the law enforcement authorities.